We begin today at the Mishnah on Daf Pei Vav Amud Beis. Zakt Heilige Mishnah. Nadra Ishtay. Person's wife made a neder. V'savo shenadra bitay. And he thinks that it's his daughter that made the neder. Or the reverse, Nadra bitay, his daughter made a neder. V'sava shenadra Ishtay. And he thinks that it's his wife that made the neder. Right, so he's coming to nullify the neder, but he made a mistake in the identity of who made this neder. Or Nadra ben Nazir, she made a neder to be a Nazir. V'savash a Nadra b'karbon. And he thought that she made a neder to be a carbon. So he says, Mufalach, he nullifies, but he thinks he's nullifying one type of neder, and really it's a different type of neder. Or the reverse, Nadra b'karbon, v'savash a Nadra ben Nazir. She made a neder to bring a carbon, and he thought that the neder was to be a Nazir. Nadra mita'enim, the neder was not to eat figs, v'savash nadra min ha'anavim. And he thought that the neder was not to eat grapes. Nadra min ha'anavim, she made a neder not to eat grapes, v'savash nadra min ha'teinim. And he thought that she made a neder not to eat figs. So all of these cases here, as you see, are cases where the hafara was made with a mistaken understanding of what the neder is. So he has to redo the nullification of the neder, and that's even later. As soon as he finds out what the neder is, this means that he never really knew what's going on. But as soon as he finds out the truth, so he has the opportunity to be made for the neder, and the first hafara is nothing. So the Gemara, so shall we say now, based on this Mishnah, the Yoni Oisa, the pasuk where it talks about the husband nullifying the wife's neder. So there the pasuk says that B'yom Shamai, when the husband hears it, Yoni Oisa, he nullifies her neder. So the words Oisa tells us that dafkehu, that he has to hear exactly who it is that made the neder. He has to hear, he has to know that it's his daughter or that it is the wife. It says the same thing also regarding the father. By the father, the Mefarshah brings the pasuk Kiheini Avia Oisa. Over there it also says Oisa. So because it says Oisa, so we say it's dafke. You have to know who made the neder when you're nullifying the neder. So the Gemara asks on this, but gabi kroim, when it comes to the mitzvah of kriya, when a person has to tear his garments when he has a close relative that passed away. The chsiv al, over there in the pasuk, it also says 2 times al. In other words, when there was a situation, when the garment was being torn for 2 different people that passed away, and the Gemara here brings the chsiv, it says al shol va'al yonasan benay. This is David HaMelech that tore kriya for Shaul that passed away and for Yonasan that passed away. And it says twice al. So if it says twice al, seemingly you should also say that when you tear kriya, that it should be dafke, that you should be aware who you're tearing kriya for. But nevertheless, V'tanya, we learned in the Braisa, Amru loy meis aviv. If they told a person that his father passed away, V'kara, and he tore kriya, V'achakach nimtze b'noi, and then he finds out that it wasn't his father, it was his son that passed away. So the Braisa says, Yotzi de kriya. So the kriya that he did before for his father is going to be acceptable. That kriya is good for what the truth is, that his son passed away. So what do I see? Even though it says in the pasuk specifically al, nevertheless I say that the kriya that's done is done, even if it was for the awareness wasn't there, b'chlal, who he's tearing kriya for. So why shouldn't we say the same thing over here regarding nullifying a neder for a daughter, and you thought it's your wife, or the reverse, so that the oisa is lav dafka. As long as you do not want this neder, you nullify it, it should be okay. Same thing.
The oisa goes on the person, it goes on the neder.
Yani oisa. Goes on the neder itself, not on the person. Okay. No. Can sein. So the Gemara answers, Amri, the answer to this question, loy kasha. There's no contradiction from the halacha that is in our Mishnah to the halacha of kriya. Because ha bestam, the way to understand this brayso we just quoted about the kriya is bestam. What does bestam mean? Not that he was told that his father passed away. He was told that he had a close relative that passed away. And he was under the impression that it's his father. Let's say his father wasn't well. So he thought, mistame, they mean to say my father passed away. So, but it was mistam. He was just, so therefore in such a case, when he did the kriya, so it will be for, even though later he finds out that it was a son, that the kriya will be acceptable for a son as well. And in the Mishnah, when it says that the hafaras nedarim that he did for his daughter, and then he finds out that it was his wife, that the hafaras nedarim does not work, it's speaking about when he was explicitly told that the neder was made by his daughter, and he was made for the neder for his daughter. So then the hafara does not work for his wife. And the same thing over here regarding the kriya. If he was explicitly told that it was for his father, and then he did the kriya for his father, so then the kriya is not good for his father. For this, when he finds out for his son that it's for his son. Things are ayah to this. V'hatanya, we see this also from what we learned in Abraisa. Amru loy meis aviv. Person was told that his father passed away. V'kara, and he tore kriya for what he was told for his father. Achkach nimtze b'noi. Then he finds out that it was really his son that passed away. Lo yatzi yedei kriya. So because he did kriya for his father, so it's not acceptable for his son. But if amru loy meis, they told him that you have a close relative that passed away. He was under the impression, Mistam, it's referring to his father. V'kara, and he tore kriya. V'achachach nimtza b'noi, and then he finds out that it was his son. Yatza yedei kriya. So then he is going to be yatza the kriya because he wasn't told clearly that it was his father. He made that mistake, but it was just stam. They told him a relative passed away and he tore kriya. So therefore over there, the kriya will take effect for whoever whoever the person really was. Okay, this is one answer here in the Gemara. Another answer the Gemara says, Rav Ashi Omar, Rav Ashi says, and the Ran explains the reason why Rav Ashi is giving a different answer is because the first answer doesn't really fit very well into the lashon of the Braisa that we quoted before. If you look, the Braisa over there says, Amru loy meis aviv. The Braisa clearly said the case is they told him his father passed away. Right, so the Gemara explained that no, it didn't mean they told him that his father passed away. It means they told him a close relative passed away, and he thought that it's his father. But it was stam. They didn't say who it is that passed away. So therefore Rav Ashi gives a different answer. So he says, Kan b'toich kedei dibur, kan la'ach kedei dibur. There's a difference if, when he finds out who the right relative is that passed away, it's a difference if he finds it out b'toich kedei dibur. Toich kedei dibur means right within a few moments of when he did the kriya, when he was told and he did the kriya. Right, so that's it. Toich kedei dibur is always within the time it takes to say Shalom Alecha Rebbe or Shalom Alecha Rebbe Yomayri, those few words. So
and they corrected it within that time.
They corrected it within that time. So then, if it was corrected within that time because he got the right information and he had the right awareness within the kedei dibur, within the time of when he did the kriya, so then the kriya will be acceptable. But when it was after kedei dibur, then it's not. Okay, the Gemara spells it out itself here. Ha, the Kamrat Yatsi de Kriya, when it says that he is Yatsi de Kriya, Shenimtza B'nai B'toich Kedei Dibur. So, because he found out who it is that he really was tearing Kriya for, it was Toich Kedei Dibur for his son. So then the Kriya is acceptable. Ha, the Amrat Lo Yatsi de Kriya, when you said, on the Braisa there said that he's not Yatsi de Kriya, La'acha Kedei Dibur. That is when he found out the truth of who it is that passed away was after Kedei Dibur, and then the kriya for the father does not work for the son, like it says in the Braisa Kipshuta that he was told that his father passed away. Ve'hatanya, and yes, we learned this also. We could see this from the following Braisa and the way this Braisa was explained. A person that has a sick relative in his house, V'nis Aleph, and his relative V'nis Aleph, he fainted, and it seemed to him that he passed away. V'kara, so he tore kriya. But that really he didn't pass away yet. So you tore kriya when he was still alive. But v'achakach meis, and then afterwards he passes away. Lo yatsa yedei kriya. So he's not yatsa the kriya because he tore kriya before the time. On this, Amr Rab Shimon ben Pazi, Amr Rab Yeshua ben Levi, Mishum bar Kapara, he explained what the halacha of this Braisa is. And he said, Lo yishanu, this halacha of the Braisa that the kriya is not a good kriya, Elo shemeis la'acha kedei dibur. If he actually ended up passing away after the kedei dibur of when he tore kriya. I will b'toich kedei dibur, but within a few moments, b'toich kedei dibur of when he tore kriya, so then kedibur dami, or the Bach takes out the words kedibur dami, he says ein tzarich l'kraya. Then you don't have to tear kriya again because you tore the kriya for this person that had just passed away. So b'toich kedei dibur, the kriya is accepted. The same thing when you get to a mistake. Person tore kriya for a father and it turns out to be a son. B'toich kedei dibur, if you found out, it's okay. The Gemara concludes this concept of toich kedei dibur with the following rule. The Hilchah said, the halacha always is toich kedei dibur kedibur dami. That within that short time period, if you want to retract something that you said, you have the power to retract it. It says all kinds of things. Primarily, this is relevant when it comes to a sale, a transaction. That even if you agree within toich kedei dibur, you could retract it, and anything. Anything, you could always be chayzer toich kedei dibur. But there's 4 exceptions. Chutz mi megadif. besides somebody that is megadev, blasphemes, or someone that's the opposite of blessing Hashem's name. So a person like this is chayiv misa. If a person is chayzer, if he retracts what he says, teich kedei dibur, it does not help. And v'oived avodas kacham, same thing, a person that serves avodah zarah, person bows down to avodah zarah, or actually it means a person that b'dibur says to avodah zarah, keiliyata, and then he wants to retract the teich kedei dibur, it doesn't work. Or mekadesh, a person that's mekadesh a woman, and he says to her, areh mukadeshesli, and then afterwards, b'teich kedei dibur, he wants to retract it. It's too late, cannot retract it. Or megarish, or a person that divorces his wife, also does not work, teich kedei dibur. These are the 4 exceptions. What's the reason why these 4 cases are exceptions? So there's different pirushim in the Rishonim. The Ran here explains what's the logic of this concept of teich kedei dibur kedibur dami. Once you said what you said, it's done, no? Why should there be such a concept that you have those few moments to retract what you said before? So the Ran actually says it's a svara min ha-Torah. And the svara is that when a person speaks, he's not 100% serious about what he's saying. Because that's just the nature of things. A person sometimes agrees to things and he's thinking to himself that I'm giving myself a moment afterwards to have charata. So in other words, you don't really have the full das, the full consent and agreement of the person just because he said the words out of his mouth. Besides these 4 cases, because these 4 things are very, very serious matters. Over here, a person would not say these things unless he is 100% serious. And therefore, even after he says it, if he's chayzer, it doesn't mean that he wasn't serious when he said it. It just means that after the fact, now he's having charata, so it's too late. In other words, the concept of teich kedei dibur does not mean that you're given the right to have charata. The concept of teich kedei dibur means that you really never had the full das when you said it. But by these 4, we know that the person did have the das, so you can't have charata afterwards. That's the Ran's pshat. But there are other Rishonim that disagree. The Ran, I think, brings it over here as well from the Rabbeinu Tam, that he said that the entire concept of teich kedei dibur is a takonas chachamim. In ha-Torah, there's no such a thing that you should be able to retract afterwards. It's a takonas chachamim, and they made it primarily, like I said before, for transactions, for sales. That it's sometimes a person realizes something a moment later. When negeya to kinyonim, it's negeya for a person to have that possibility to be able to be chayzer right afterwards. And because it is, they said it also regarding other things as well. Besides these 4 cases, Chachamim did not apply their takonato. It's a Rabbeinu Tam's pshat. Right, exactly. Not a svara, it's a takonas chacham according to Rabbeinu Tam. Okay, Zog Teilige Mishneh, Omra, Koinem Te'enim Va'anovim Elu Shani Teyemes. So she made a neder. His person's wife made a neder not to taste from figs and grapes. So Kayim L'Te'enim, if the husband validates half of the neder, he validates the neder, the part of the neder of the figs. Kule Kayim, that's going to be considered a full validation of the entire neder. Hofer L'Te'enim, if he nullified half of the neder, only the figs, so then Einem Mufer. Then the entire neder is not going to be nullified. In other words, even the figs that he did nullify, it doesn't take effect at all. Until he nullifies also the grapes, so then none of the nullification takes effect. That's the pshat that most of the Rishonim learn. Right, they're right. When it comes to nullification, so because the half is a 0. When it comes to validating, half of the hakama of validating is going to be a hakama. It validates the entire neder. The Gemara is going to bring the psukim. Actually, a few opinions about this. We'll see. The Gemara will explain. Amra kainem te'enim shani tayemes. Te'ena shani tayemes. Her neder was, and this is the language she used, a neder not to taste from figs, and then she said ve'anova shani tayemes, and not to taste from grapes. So she split the neder into 2. She said twice tayemes. So these are 2 separate nedarim. So you can nullify or validate each part of the neder separately because it's really 2 different nedarim. Sagt the Gemara, Mani Masnisin, who is the Tan of our Mishnah? Rabbi Shmuel. Rabbi Shmuel is the Tan of our Mishnah. As we'll see here in the Braise, there's a few opinions about this. The Tanya, Isha Yikimeno, Isha Yifireno. Her husband validates and her husband nullifies the neder. So what do we learn from this? So Rabbi Shmuel says, exactly like it said in our Mishnah, Omra kainim ta'enim v'anovim elish anita yemes. If she says, a neder not to eat from figs and grapes, kayim li ta'enim, if he validates the neder of the ta'enim, kule kayim. The entire thing is validated. How does he learn it from the pasuk? The Gemara will soon say, Yikimenu could also be read, Yakim mimenu, meaning even if from it, a part of it, you validate it, it validates the whole neder. But hafer l'ta'enim, but if a person is going to nullify only half of the neder, then einem mufat sheyafa afla novim. So then this nullification doesn't take effect at all until you nullify also the part of the neder, the entire neder, also the grapes. Divri Rabbi Shmuel, this is what Rabbi Shmuel said. Rabbi Kiva argues and says, Hareyu, what does it say in the pasuk? Isha yikimenu v'isha yifirenu, and therefore what I learn out is as follows. I compare the two. Ma yikimenu means mimenu, as I just explained. Yikimenu means that you could validate, that is, a part of the neder, and that validation will validate the entire neder. Af yifirenu mimenu. Yifirenu also means that when you nullify part of the neder, so then it nullifies the whole thing. So the Gemara now explains what our machlokes is based on. Rabbi Shmuel, so according to Rabbi Shmuel, why does he disagree with Rabbi Kiva? He says simple, miksiv yofer mimenu. This lashon of yikimenu, over there we can dash in yakim mimenu, that even if you validate part of the neder, it's a full validation. But by yifirenu, doesn't say the word mimenu, or even part of that word mimenu. So how could you say that it's the same applies to the hafara?
But by yikimenu, the mem is from the yakim.
It's yakum, it's like part of the word, but nevertheless, it's a drasha that yikimenu is like yakimimenu, but by yifirenu you don't have that at all. So what does Rabbi Kiva explain? But Rabbi Kiva makish hafara lakama. True, it doesn't say the term mimenu by hafara, but we are makish because it says in the pasuk together. We compare them. Ma hakama mimenu, just like by the hakama, even a part of the neder that you validate takes effect. Afafara mimenu. Same thing also regarding hafara, that even a partial hafara also takes effect. So he brought now a third opinion. The name of Rabbi Yechanan, he said, Zu divrei Rabbi Shmuel v'Rabbi Kiva. This is the opinion of Rabbi Shmuel and Rabbi Kiva. However, Chachamim said, Makish hakama la'afara. That no, we compare, like Rabbi Kiva, that we compare hakama ta'afara, but we compare hakama ta'afara in the opposite. Ma hafara, ma shehefer hefer. Okay, so over here, most Rishonim, or at least the Ran, is guided in the Gemara, not Masha Hefer Hefer, but Masha Hefer Loy Hefer. Just like by Afara, we say that what you nullify, the nullification does not take effect, right? That's what it said in our Mishnah. By the nullification, a half nullification is worthless. So just like by Afara, it has to be full. And if it's half, it's zero. Afakame, over here as well, your guide is different than what it says in our Gemara. Afakame Mashakayim Loy Kayim. This that you were Makayim is not going to be Makayim. So this is a third opinion that, we compare hakama ta'afara, but in the opposite, to say that the validation has to be full, and if not, nothing takes effect. The actual girsa that there is in our Gemara, so there are some Rishonim that are guided this way, and they hold that what it says in our Mishnah, that when you mefer half of the neder, that the hafara does not take effect. For example, the figs and the grapes. What the Mishnah meant to say is that the hafara does not take effect for the half that you were not mefer. For the half that you were mefer, the hafara does take effect. You were mefer, you said, I don't want the neder of the figs, that half takes effect. The other half does not take effect. So then you could touch the words of the Gemara here. Ma hafara, ma shehefer hefer, the half that you wore mefer took effect, so too by the hakama. We don't say that a half a hakama equals a full hakama, but whatever you were making, whatever you weren't, you weren't. That's what fits into the lashon of the Gemara here. But as I said, most Rishonim are guided over here that a half a hafara is a zero hafara, and the same thing with hakama, that a half hakama is a zero hakama. Okay, just to remind you, we learned about this before, beneged to when a chacham is mated the neder. So over there we actually learned differently. By a chacham being mated the neder, once he's matter a part of the neder, so then the whole neder falls apart. Right? Over here, our Mishnah is telling us the exact opposite. If the father is being made for a part of the neder, the hafara does not take effect at all. And the difference is, I think I explained this once already, that by the Torah of the Chacham, he's uprooting the neder retroactively. So once he shows that this neder, the way it was said, was not a good neder, there was a mistake here, there's a certain pesach in the neder that there was a mistake here, so the whole neder falls apart. But by a father that's being mated the neder, or made for the neder rather, you're being made for it from here forward. It's not, so therefore, for this, the only way to break the neder is you have to break it completely. You have to nullify it completely. Nullifying it halfway is not going to be made for the neder.
Why the chacham that works and for the father doesn't work?
It's a different type of atar. Over there it's retroactive. It's a different inyan. Over there it's okay. The last point of here on this Mishnah, Amra kainam te'ena. The Mishnah said if the language of the two things that she said in the neder, so she clearly said that she separated it. Kainam te'ena shani tayemes, anova shani tayemes. So then it's two Nedarim. Says the Gemara, Amar Rav said, Masnis and Rab Shimon. Our Mishnah is following Rab Shimon's opinion. The Amar Rab Shimon says, Achi yoyma shvua l'chol echad ve'echad. What this Rab Shimon is talking about is when a person makes a shvua regarding an edus. I think it's regarding an edus, or he makes a shvua that. I believe it's regarding edus. He says, I don't know this edus, and I make again a shvua that I don't know this edus. Or the Mefarish actually brings that it's regarding money that he owes. Regarding money that he owes, he says, I make a shvua that I don't have this money of yours, or I don't have this money, this pekadon, or regarding a pekadon, I don't have this pekadon of yours. So what Rav Shimon is saying is that he has to say very clearly twice the lashon shvua to divide it into two different shvuas that'll be chayev, two karbanis. Right? So the same thing we see in our Mishnah. How does the Mishnah say that the net that gets divided into two? Dafke if Shimamish says two completely separate lashonis, twice kainim and twice shani tayemes. Only then is the net separated into two. So therefore our Mishnah that says this goes according to Rab Shimon's opinion.